Honorable Speaker.
Honourable members, as you are all aware, on the demise of one of the honourable member of this August House, late Sri SK Sunn, as a mark of respect to late Sri SK Sunn, sitting member, we will take up obituary reference today. Now I request the Chief Minister, please.
It is with a very heavy heart that not just me, but I'm sure the entire House is here today. When last week, right after the session began, towards the late afternoon, the sad news came to us of the sudden demise of one of the sitting members of this House, late Sri SK Sunn. I was asking our Honourable Leader of Opposition, who has been in this House, I think, longer than any other member, that whether there was ever an occasion where a sitting member passed away while the House was in session. And he was telling me, fortunately, that never happened in the past. And this is most probably the first time in the history of this House that a sitting member has passed away while the House was in session. Sir, it pains me, and I'm sure each and every one, to be standing here today and looking at that empty chair of late U Bah SK Sunn, a person who had been with us for the past 3.5 years in this House. And I think, needless to say, every member in this House will remember his contribution to this House and his contribution to his constituency and to the state as a whole, especially with the deliberations that he used to bring to this House. I was even prepared today because there was a special motion that was brought in by late SK Sunn. And since that motion could not be taken up last time, it was supposed to be continued today. And after the question hour, and after the other 0-hour notice and call attention motions and other short discussions, late SK Sunn was supposed to speak again today in this House. So it is indeed, sir, very shocking what happened last week. I was sharing with some of our members that when it came to questions, when it came to motions, resolutions, or any kind of debate in this House, I don't think there were many like him who used to do their homework in detail. In fact, we used to joke with some of our friends that he already had the answers to the questions he was asking. And when he used to ask the questions, he was fully prepared with the reply also. That is the kind of person that he was. And it's a great loss to this House, because of the kind of material, the kind of inputs, and the kind of debate, high level of debate that he used to bring to this House with facts, figures, proper homework documentation, that will be a great loss for the House and for the state as a whole.
I also join the Leader of the House in condoling the untimely, unexpected demise of one of our dear colleagues of this August House, khlad SK Sunn. How strange life is. It's very difficult to reconcile because as human, sometimes it's beyond our power of comprehension as to how one can have so much of element of surprises in the course of the life of a person. Having said this, Mr. Speaker, sir, it's beyond our control. And we have lost one of our dearest colleagues. How painful it has been for the electorates and the family members, we can easily understand. And as colleagues of this August House, to have one of our members who suddenly leaves us during the time of session, yes, it's unprecedented. Therefore, with heavy heart, I join the Leader of the House in conveying our deepest condolences to the wife and children of U Bah Sunn, and also to all the loved ones of the family and all those who are associated with him, particularly the electorates. I have known him for a very, very long time, ever since I got elected in 1993. The first time that I met him was when I went to Mawphlang and wanted to see the intake point of the Greater Shillong Water Supply Scheme. And immediately as I reached, he promptly appeared there. Beautifully maintained assets. I think all our friends will agree that it is one of the assets which has been maintained so appropriately, reflecting the asset as an asset of a government. Because elsewhere we will see that government assets are the most dilapidated. And anybody can actually recognize a government asset by looking at the look of the assets. But Mawphlang, the assets created is very different, including the location. So he was there, that's the first time I met him. And subsequently, as during the innings of my political career, we had to, on a number of occasions, meet during the course of our discussion, official discussions, official reviews. I could see him as to how he was focused on the work that was assigned to him. And one thing I observed was that whenever an issue was brought before him, even while he was occupying the office of the chief engineer, he would personally assure that he will go to the spot, he will go to the site and see as to how things should be corrected. It was also one of his qualities that whenever the department is asked to submit proposals, he would personally ensure that the DPRs are in order, that the DPRs don't have to be returned to the department because of any deficiency. And that was particularly when a project has to be posted before Government of India for any consideration of sanction. He would personally assure, he will come and tell that he has personally looked at the whole DPR and there is no chance of the scheme being sent back. with any queries. So that was the kind of focus that even as an officer, late SK Sunn had. It's been a privilege to have him as member of this August House, with his long innings of experience as an officer, the wealth of experience in administration of very crucial, important department, public health engineering. And with the same zeal and passion, he took up issues here. We have all been a witness to that. Whenever he articulated issues on the matters that has been tabled by him in this August House, I would keenly listen to him, and my observation was that he would make submissions only on issues which is not just important for his constituency, but for larger good of the people as a whole. As a politician, I thought with the background of an officer, he might be a different politician. We have seen many officers joining politics and saying goodbye to politics because it's one of the toughest jobs. I was presuming and assuming at the initial stage that many officers have joined politics and have ultimately had disastrous career in politics. But as we saw late SK Sunn, we knew that he was going to be in this whole public service for a very long time.
Sir, I received the saddest information at around 5:30 when I was out of station. When I was on the way back to Delhi, I received a call that Badeng SK Sunn was no more. Still, I did not believe. Then after some times, Honorable Chief Minister, he called me up again and he said, we lost our friends. I remember before he died, I think 12 days back, he came to my room and we discussed few important issues relating to the developmental activities concerning to his constituency. And thereafter, I asked him, Badeng, have you given vaccination? He smiled, he looked at me and he said, no, Ba, I have not. So I requested, can you please go and give your vaccination? He said, yes, very soon I'm going to do that. But the 10th evening, I was really shocked. And not only that, the 10th evening, I asked my DHS to personally go there because the way he died, it was symptomatic. So when the report came out after a few hours, unfortunately, he was declared dead due to COVID-19. Sir, this is beyond our control, beyond our thoughts. We have really lost him. And not only that, in fact, Bah Sunn, I had an opportunity to associate with him when I was looking after PHC department for a long time. I've seen how he works. He hardly sleeps. And I would like to place on record, when you go back to the history of Greater Shillong Water Supply Scheme, I should say it was because of him Greater Shillong Water Supply Scheme is functioning well till today. He was the master brain. He never slept that time. He has contributed a lot in sports sectors. He has his own team promoting our talented youths, and not only in sports, socially. He has contributed a lot to the state and especially to his area. That's why 2018 he won. He was elected as the member of this August House. So, sir, I don't want to prolong much. I would like to share my grief, my sorrow, my deepest condolences goes to the Biri family, to his wife, his children, and to his people of constituency. And I'm sure God knows better. Maybe He will bring in again somebody to replace Baden Sun. So, sir, with these few words, I pray that God will give him eternal peace forever. With these few words, sir, I resume my seat.
I recall in the year 2003, when I was first elected to this house, and being an inhabitant Raishnong of Mawphlang village, my first job was to ensure, as an MLA, was to get them good drinking water supply. I then called Bah Sunn, I think he was executive engineer at that time, and I told him, Bah Sunn, we require water for our village in Mawphlang. And I said, the present system we have there is very dilapidated and insufficient. You wouldn't believe, sir. He came himself personally and ensured that we got this scheme. It was a deep tube well system, because we don't get the greater water supply scheme to date in that area. And now we have sufficient water in that village. It's thanks to him. But apparently he seems to be helping all the other MLAs also. So we'll definitely miss him as an officer and as a politician. His deliberations and discussions in this house, I remember I used to turn around and listen to him very carefully. With so much of rich experience, we all benefited from that. And like the Honorable Deputy CM has said also, he was a very avid footballer and a good footballer at that, subsequently having his own football team, etc. In day for yesterday, when the Shillong Sports Association held a condolence meeting, I think from all the people in Meghalaya, they are the saddest people today, because he had contributed tremendously to bring up the Shillong Sports Association. And in fact, he had already kept a scheme for almost 2 crores to renovate the stadium and the field at Polo Grounds. This was his contribution even to sports. Yes, sir, we have lost him and we'll miss him. But at the same time, I pray to the Almighty that his family will have the strength to bear this loss. His family will have the strength to bear this loss. And I pray that his soul rests in eternal peace. Thank you.
I remember Bah Sunn. He's one of the most far-sighted bureaucrat in the state of Meghalaya. Because when we look back at many of his contribution in the field of his profession before coming into politics, that nobody would have a dream that the amount of sanction he got, especially in the area of Giant Hills, which only the people who are daring to dream that couldn't venture into that. So, for the last 3.5 years, when I observed Bah SK Sunn, the way he debated, the way he put his sick information in the house, it really made me think, not only think, so he contributed a lot that I have to learn more about my department, learn more about the information which he seeks. This enrich me, enrich other members also, because whatever he speaks, it carries weight. And not only that, many of the information which he speaks in the house, which is very difficult even to find in our own department.
I could see the loss. What it is, sir, for it is a big loss. A big loss, especially for his wife, his children, the constituent members, and all of us. But I convey my condolences to all the bereaved family, especially wife and children, at this hours of grief and sorrow. I pray to Almighty God that may console them, and his departed soul rest in peace, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I consider myself as one of the members who had a special attachment with Bah SK Sunn. And it is really shocking when I came to know just after a few hours when he was declared dead. I'm shocked and I cannot believe that Bah SK Sunn is no more. He came to me just 1 week before he passed away, and I had such a wonderful conversation with him. And that conversation with him is that he came to sit with me and he explained to me the good work that he has done in my department in PHE. And I'm really glad to hear that he has initiated many schemes in the entire state of Meghalaya to ensure that people in the state of Meghalaya get drinking water. So when I came to know that he is no more, I still remember those words when he expressed to me, saying that, Baranik, I want to work together positively. So, sir, I have no sufficient words to express my feeling of loss when I came to know that Bah SK Sunn is no more. And I just pray that God will keep strength, will comfort the family members, his children, and all the relatives, so that they can bear this great loss. Of course, it is not the loss of only those families, the loss of Mawphlang constituency as a whole, and a big loss to us as the state of Meghalaya.
I have known Bah SK Sunn since the days that we were together in the government service. He was the chief engineer of the PHE. I was a director in various departments. And we have been meeting each other on various occasions. And I could see right from those days how dedicated and how diligent he was in his duties and in executing the projects that were in his hands. He would also jokingly say, we have the 11th member here. I was asking him, so who's the 11th member? He said, the 11th member is my drone.
He used to use the drone, and the drone pictures are all records for this August House. This was the way we had a leader in him. And personally, I really miss Bah Sunn as the chairman of the Environment Committee. What can we say, sir? It's all God's plan. He has taken him away, perhaps a bit too early. Nevertheless, all we can do is remember him and pray to the Almighty that He continue to bless his family and his children, and also to rest his soul in eternal peace. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have lost a friend. I have lost my elder brother. He's like my elder brother because he used to be with me whenever I'm having a problem in communication. I have known Bah Sunn very well, right from 2006, when at the time I was the General Secretary of the Khasi Students Union. No doubt, Bah Sunn was a very good person, down to earth, very simple, and is very generous person. To lose such a person, it pained, I hope not in my heart, especially the family of dear Bah Sunn.
So when I heard the news on the 10th, I just couldn't believe it. So I picked up the call, picked up my phone and called his wife, Kong Switzerland Lingdor, who confirmed that the news that I had received was factual and not a rumor. So the character of Bah SK Sunn was such that he projected himself as being a person who was trustworthy, a person who once was convinced of a stand would not change his mind. He was disciplined. He was always ensuring that his health was of prime importance no matter what. And to hear that this great man, like all the 5 who have left us from amongst this house, I could not imagine. He will always be remembered as a person who stood tall, put his points across, and stuck his ground. His dedication to the preparations of his presentations, deliberations, discussions, debates on this august house will always be remembered and emulated. He never came to the house unprepared. When I was a very young girl, because my late father, being a politician, took a lot of advice from Bah SK Sunn, and he would frequently accompany my father to all the various football events across this country, whether it was a football match in the southern part of India or football match in West Bengal. But he was a very passionate man, and he gave his best to contribute, to inculcate and nurture a young breed of sportsmen who would excel in our natural gifts of football. You can see that his son, Eugene Lingdo, became one of the youngest stars of the state of Meghalaya and the country as a whole. That's because Bah Sunn himself had such a passion for football, was a footballer himself, and wanted to ensure that every other young person with talent in football and skill in football playing would be given the right coaching and the right opportunities and be groomed into young stars. So I am very grateful to Bah SK Sunn for his deliberations on the sensitive border issues. In fact, he was on his feet and was meant to complete his debate and deliberation today. I remember he accompanied all of us with some of the colleagues from the opposition to West Khasi Hills not very long ago to defend the borders. And he had that in him, and it is so unfortunate that he is no more to carry on this battle on the important issue of protection and retention of our borders. He was a very responsible father, bred his children to be very respectable, knowledgeable, educated young boys and girls. That is another thing that I think all of us should learn from. No matter how busy an individual is, or no matter how important a post he holds in government, his dedication as a father to his children should never be forgotten. That is what I have learned from this great personality called Bah SK Sunn. That is something that we should emulate and we should remember, because at the end of the day, Bah SK Sunn was an individual who managed his time efficiently. He had time for every little compartment in his life. That was admirable. That is something that we need to learn from. And that is something which I will remember. My heart is deeply pained that once again, another colleague has fallen to the ground without a warning, without much words for all of us here to go by with.
It is really a shock for each and every one of us, especially those who are close with our beloved late SK Sunn. It is really a loss, not only for his beloved family, his wife, his children, and all beloved one, and also not a loss only for the constituency, but it is a loss of this August House, as he is a real orator. He is a true legislator. When we have come across to see his experiences as a bureaucrat and as a politician, it is really a loss for the state, as we don't have a leader, especially in this point of time. Nearly few months yet to be celebrate the 50th anniversary of our statehood. Myself, I'm very close with him in the same table. And at first glimpse, I'm trying to look at him. It's like a rose blossom. But at this time when I look again, it's no more. This is life. This is life. Let us remind that this is life. Really, life is very, very uncertain. But death is certain. I thank God Almighty that I could be able to attend his funeral service, to give my last respect to this true legislator and true leader of our beloved state.
Last Friday, on the opening day of this autumn session, when Bah Sunn was not spotted in his chair, I was wondering what could have happened to him that he was not present on that morning. A person who always was very active, vocal, and who made his presence felt to everyone, as one of our friends has already rightly mentioned. Before the House is called for the order, he used to greet everyone and patting the younger fellow members. So, by his absence last Friday itself, he has created a vacuum in the House before the shocking news of his demise was heard in the evening. His proactive participation in the discussions and deliberations will be greatly missed in this august House. I have known him from the time when we were serving as an officers in the government of Meghalaya. However, my association with Mr. Sunn as a fellow legislator in this last few years could be recalled as very accommodating and amiable. My interactions and discussions on various topics and issues was quite enlightening and informative. He was indeed a very, very committed leader who did not want to leave any stones unturned when the cause is for the welfare of the people, of the state in general, and for his constituents in particular. He has always focused on his own subjects. Let SK Sunn, being an ex-technocrat who retired as chief engineer in PHE department, had in-depth knowledge of the subjects and varied experience, and I believe which had really helped him in effective deliverance to his people or to the people of the state. He is also known to be passionate about football and owns 2 football clubs, which went on to prove that he was a mentor and a friend to the sports persons, sports lovers, who wanted to promote the youths in the field of sports. And worth mentioning that he promoted his own son, Eugenson Lingdo, into a national level footballer, which we all are very proud of. Today, the sports persons of Meghalaya will greatly miss him as a great patron and a mentor. It is indeed very, very unfortunate that Meghalaya has lost yet another leader, great leader, the son of the soil, who was committed and dedicated to his duties and who works with passion and zeal to serve the people of the state, not only to his constituency. The loss of such leaders is not only for the people of Mawphlang constituency, but for the state as a whole. Many tributes have been showered by our friends, other speakers, and have expressed their solidarity in grieving the bereft family. So also, I would like to express my sincere, heartfelt sympathies and deepest condolences through you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, to all the loved ones of the deceased Bah Sunn and the bereft family members. May the Almighty God give them strength to overcome the pain and sorrow that they are going through and be consoled and comforted. My sincere prayer for the loving departed soul of Bah SK Sunn to rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Today, we are still struggling to reconcile with the fact, to accept the fact that Honorable Member from Mawphlang is no more with us. It is a difficult news to digest. I remember getting this news, receiving this news late afternoon on the 10th after the starting of our assembly session, and I think none of us could believe what we heard. It was unbelievable, and we still cannot reconcile with this fact. As part of the member of the Environment Committee, I was able to interact with him and spend some time with him. You know, if we look at the age, if we look at his age, he was 62 years when he passed away. He was already 62 years. But he was so young at heart. He had no problems whatsoever in connecting with the youth, connecting with people from different age groups. And he always updated himself with all the new technologies and all the news and everything around him. He was always updated. And you always had the opportunity, whenever you interacted with him, to learn something new. And even at the age of 62, Honorable Member from Mawphor was just telling us that he used to use the drone when we used to go for our on-site committee meeting inspections. And you can understand the kind of understanding he had for technology and how hardworking he was. You know, whenever you ask any question, whenever you bring up any topic, he would be so passionately involved in having a conversation. He always had a lot of stories to tell, and he had so much experiences to share. And we all know that he always had very strong opinions about any topic that we would discuss. He always had his own opinions, and we all know what he used to bring to the August House. He brought about topics which might have been unpleasant, but he would always make sure, even though he was part of the government, to bring it to the notice of this August House. We all know how much he has contributed as an officer. We were talking about how passionately he was involved in sports in the state. But this is a little hobby of his, which I would like to share, which I found out when he invited the committee to his residence. We had the privilege to be invited to his residence. And he took us around his beautiful garden. He had a hobby of collecting different kind of plant species from different parts of the world. And it was such a beautiful thing. It was a hobby that he said he You know, it has been there for a long time, for many years, and he used to order different plants from different parts of the world, and it was so amazing to see his collection in his beautiful garden. He always believed that whatever small work that we do should be meaningful and should be effective. And I know that whatever he has done, all the work that he has done shall be remembered, and we all know how beautiful his work was, how meaningful his work was, and how effective it has been. Therefore, I would like to say that even though he is not with us today, we shall always remember it is definitely a huge loss, not just for his family, but to this August House, to his constituents, and to the state of Meghalaya. We will truly miss him. My sincere and heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family. I hope that the Almighty will give strength, solace, and courage to all his loved ones. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Perhaps, sir, the way he has left us all when he was still on his feet, deliberating and discussing, especially on a subject that he has prepared so well. And there were thick notes on the interstate border. Perhaps no one would have such records and compilation. Perhaps the manner in which he left us while he was on his feet discussing and deliberating leaves a mark of the man as he stood for the people and he stood for the issues that he fought for. Sir, since his days as an executive engineer in the Mawphlang division, we can recall his dedication, his uniqueness, and how he brought about development for the state through his position as an engineer and bring about development and infrastructure for the state, sir. When I fondly recall, sir, when the Committee of Environment was formed, when our late Speaker, Shri Dr. Donkupar Roy, had selected Shri SK Sunn to lead the committee, when we sat and deliberated, we could see the wisdom in that judgment and in that selection. The very preparedness of late Shri SK Sunn on the agenda notes, on guiding us on the rules, the regulations, the acts that prevail, speaks wonders of the man. He spent hours and hours to prepare the agenda notes so that each and every member and the department that participated, they benefited from his wisdom and from his guidance. Sir, he had put in his heart and soul on every subject that was brought to his notice. The enthusiasm with which he puts his mind on how to protect the environment is worth emulating. It's a great loss, sir, and we fondly remember him. I pray for the eternal repose of his soul, and also implore upon the Almighty to grant solace and strength to his family and children, and convey my deepest condolences to the people of Mawphlang constituency, and also thank them for giving us Bah Sunn as a leader. And this unexpected and untimely demise of their leader, sir, may his soul bless them and his spirit remain in the activities that will happen forthwith in the future of Mawphlang constituency, sir.
It was really a very shocking moment for me. I was with one of my officers in my car, and we were shocked to hear and to believe that news. Bah Sunn, he's a man of focus. He always a man of research. I always observe, especially when I'm sitting here, that whenever any questions or resolutions or motions taken up by him, as mentioned by most of the members during the speech, that he always comes up with facts and figures. And I've come across some ministers that most of the information I'm getting from Bah Sunn, because he always ensures that he does his homework well before coming to the House or before putting up any questions or resolution or motion. To me, I feel that his contribution, his debates, his points, always in a very constructive way. He always shows his concern about his people of his constituency. He always brings up issues which will be of great help to the people of his constituency. But yes, he is not a constituency-centric person. In a very short span of time of just 3.5 years, he has contributed a lot. I'm sure that the government, through the Chief Minister, must have taken note about all the points raised by him. Sometimes the government might feel that he raised too many questions, too many points. But at the end of the day, when it comes to governance, one has to accept the facts and the truth. We have lost this great leader. And as members, chairman of different committees in the Assembly, he always takes the things very seriously and very sincerely. One of the committee that he was the chairman of the Environment Committee, he submitted a report. He brought me a pen drive of the drone shots to those locations and sites where he has visited. It was such a detail, which I feel, for me also, a big learning. I wish Barring Sud is still here during this entire time. But things are not in our hands. It's Almighty who knows well about his demise. His contributions were immense and will be remembered in the days, weeks, months, and years ahead. Most of the points, most of the speeches, most of the suggestions have been already spoken by all the members of this August House. For me at this moment, I, on behalf of the members of this August House, would like to send our deepest condolences to his wife, his children, and all his family members. May God grant them strength, comfort them, and solace in this time of grief. We pray that Almighty will be with them in all the days to come. And we also pray that the soul of this tall leader rests in eternal peace.